So that's why we're here. We're trying to help y'all at least figure out your portion right before your academic advising session. So yes, we're here to give you resources and be friendly faces on campus. So I know y'all have already started doing this, but to those who just came in, be sure to mention in the chat where you're from and what your potential major is coming to SEU. And yes, as I mentioned, we know your advising sessions are coming up. So the majority of this event will be spent on Q&A, but right before that, we're gonna spend time getting or making sure y'all know your resources such as Course Avail, course evaluations, and ECampus. So yes, next slide. So now that I've talked a little bit, my name is Kathryn and I am a finance major with a sociology minor. I am from Gilroy, California, so I'm pretty local in my opinion. And my favorite thing to get from Benson, which is our dining hall, is the chili lime salmon bowl from Globe. And I'm passing it on to Maddie.
Hello, hello, hello. My name is Maddie and I'm a neuroscience major with 2 minors, kind of 2 in biology and creative writing. And my favorite food from Benson has to be the breakfast burritos from La Brea. They hit. It's so good. And I'm passing off to Dayana.
Hi everyone, my name is Dayana Lopez Guevara. I'm a rising second year. I am double majoring in English and political science, and I also have a minor in urban education. For my favorite meal from Benson, I would have to go with acai bowls from Globe. They're consistent, they hit, they're always a must. And yeah.
Just a brief disclaimer before we jump in. We cannot help y'all pick your classes nor arrange any schedules. We're here to answer any general questions and help y'all navigate these resources, as Kathryn said, and give y'all a basic foundation for when you meet with your advisors. Your advisors are going to be the ones who can help you with each case individually and answer any specific questions you may have. And with that, I will hand it off to Dayana.
Okay, so hopefully all of you have heard about the core requirements, and if you have not, they are basically what is commonly known as general ed. So core requirements are the classes that every student at SEU is required to take, regardless of whatever major y'all are enrolled in. They are essentially divided into 2 sections. We have the foundation courses and the exploration courses. The foundation courses are meant to introduce all of you to SEU. So this might be the ones that you all are interacting with this upcoming year. And then the exploration courses are meant to be a deeper dive into the topics that foundation courses deal with. So those are going to be the ones that y'all are going to be interacting throughout your 4 years of college. As first years, you will be pre-enrolled into one of these core requirements, which will most likely be either critical thinking and writing, culture and ideas, or religion, theology, and culture. And we're going to go ahead and show you momentarily how to access this information and see which course y'all have been enrolled in.
So yes, right before we get started with the exact resources, if y'all want see what exactly are the core requirements, maybe just a brief description of what the class is, Dayana will actually link that in the chat right now, and y'all could just save it for future reference. But the second link is actually a little bit more important in my opinion, because if y'all have chosen your major and you might need like a checklist, for example, to see what classes you need to take to even like graduate, I recommend you click the second link and it will actually bring you to either the School of Business Engineering or Arts and Sciences. And from there, you can find your major. And my recommendation is that you download whatever PDF shows up and maybe start checking it off as the year goes off. I'm pretty sure your advisors would give you something like this, but just in case they don't, it's a really good tool to have, especially like on your desktop in your important files.
All right, so our first resource is Course Avail, which is a resource you can use to create potential schedules and see what classes are available for each quarter before your registration period. This is not where you register for classes though, it's more of a planning resource. And as it says on the slide, this is a source where you can build potential class schedules, check the availability of seats within your classes, view what classes are available for the given course. And I gave y'all a little key to use. MWF stands for Monday, Wednesday, Friday. and TR is for classes that are on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Course Avail is found on the My SU portal, and its tab is right under ECampus. So once you log in, you can click on the Advanced tab, and on the search bar, it'll give you a list of filters, and I'll be primarily focusing on undergraduate cores, as that is what y'all will most likely need now. And as you can see on the slide, there are so many different courses that you have to take, and this will give you a little access to all of them. Today, I'm going to give you guys a demo on how to find your RTC1 or Religion, Theology, and Cultures 1. Once you click this, the core shows up on the top, and every available class is listed alongside the number of spots available. And just like that, you've added your first potential class to your first potential schedule. Yahoo! So again, this is a source where you can begin making your own schedules. Make sure to utilize the Add Plus button to create multiple schedules in the case that classes fill or there's a certain time that doesn't work for you anymore. I have friends who make 3 or 4, and I have friends who make 7 or 8. Whatever fits your groove, do what you want. And an important note is that exceeding 19 units is considered overloading, so please see your advisor for more information. And this is for anyone who wants to take more classes than they necessarily quote unquote can, or my friends in the STEM department who have different like tutoring classes they want to add to their schedule, or labs. And then these are 2 examples of schedules I've made for y'all that I was able to make with 4 cores, and they all reach to 60 units. And remember these codes on the far left that are circled in pink, because they are going to be the numbers that you use when you pick your classes and submit them into your cart on ECampus, which Dayana will help you with later.
So it's Kathryn again. I'm going to basically be talking to y'all about this application called Course Evaluation. So yes, when you search for classes on Course Avail, you might see like a bunch of different teachers and you're wondering which one you should take. This would be the tool that we recommend everyone to use, just because it is required from students to fill out at the end of the quarter. So generally it does have a pretty high response rate. So with that being said, I'm going to do a live demo, and Maddie's going to help me through it so I can help y'all figure out how to read this, because it can get confusing at times. So if Maddie, if you could please click the link for me. All right, so this is what would show up when you click this link, but you could also find the link to course evaluations through your SEU portal. It is a little tile as well. Just as long as Course Avail and ECampus, it will just say course evaluations. So for this example, I'm gonna pretend that I'm gonna want to search up an RSOC class, or SOC 7. And then I also want to see if Professor Daniel is teaching it. So Daniel. And yes, you could just type it in like that. You could also type like the quarter, whatever you want. But this is exactly the way I was able to find this instructor and the classes that he might teach. So as you can see, it shows like fall 2021 to fall 2020. My advice is just to go with the most recent one, because professors are only getting better at their school, in my opinion. So right now, I would say the most recent available data is of fall 2021. So if Maddie, if you can click the top one, please. All right, so this is what will show up. And this is the confusing part, because this looks really, really weird for some reason when people first open it, but this is why I'm here. Okay, at the top, do you see where it says a response rate of 71%? That is just showing y'all that a lot of people from the class do reply to this. So this is why this is a really good tool to use. And then Matt, if you could scroll down so we could see all the items. Yes, so this is what is being asked of the students to fill out. So for example, it's like number 1.2 is the instructor organized the course effectively. And we can see that the average was about a 4. So from this, I would say to mostly use the averages to figure out if you would like the statement to agree with you personally. However, y'all might see the professor organize the classes. That's normally what I do. And then if you can go to the second page, Maddie. This is what I find the most helpful because a lot of us need to figure out how much time we're spending on homework because we all need that social and school life balance. So as we can see that this professor takes, most students spend around 4 to 5 hours after the class per week to do homework. And this will just, I would keep this in mind in the back of my head while I look at my other professors. And keep in mind, if there's more hours, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that some classes naturally take up more hours, for example, like STEM classes. So I would just say to keep that in mind and make sure not all of your classes are in the higher range. Have a good mix because at some point, some classes are going to be harder, especially as you move on to your upper divisions. And then scroll down to the last page. So this is why, man, it's weird because this whole section is the exact same information as the first page. So I would say, honestly, just stick to the second and third pages because this one, it's much easier to read. You can see the averages. You can see how people agree with it. So if y'all could just stick to the second and third page, that's my personal opinion. But if you really want to see all the stats, you can go ahead and click the first page. But yes, Maddie, this is done for the demo, so we can go back to the slides. All right, and then the next one. So these slides will be shared with you all at the end. So this is just me explaining it again. So next one. One important thing to note, though, is that with course evaluation, there is no comment section, so you aren't able to see any details on the professor, which is sadly a bad thing. But on the bright side, you at least get to see a high response rate, which in my opinion is really, really helpful. Also know your strengths and weaknesses and see if your professor complements them. For example, like I said, like for me, so a lot of the math classes actually do sometimes have a higher hour thing that I showed you on the second page. But for example, I feel like I'm pretty good at math, so I feel like I wouldn't spend as much time. So I say know your own strengths and weaknesses and balance them out with a professor or see if they complement them.
Okay, and I will be taking this last resource, which is ECampus, which hopefully y'all are already pretty familiar with. This is the resource that I'm assuming all of you have used to access your email and SEU information. So like the last two resources, this one can be found using the My SEU portal. I have also added on the bottom left corner the ECampus link if y'all just want to access and click there, and it'll take you to your login. But first things first, make sure that you guys are reading and accepting the online agreement in the tasks tile of your ECampus account. Otherwise, you won't be able to register and enroll for classes. And you don't want to show up to your advising appointment and not be able to register because you have not done this. Spots fill up and y'all want to get that registration in. So make sure y'all have done this. If you all have already done it, congratulations, big thumbs up. If y'all haven't done it, please try to get it done after this session. It's really, really important. Next slide, please. Okay, I have tried to put a very diligent slides for all of you since, like Kathryn said, y'all will get access to these afterwards, and hopefully they will be helpful in helping you navigate registering for classes in the future. So on the first image to the left, we have the academics tab, which will allow you to access your pre-registered course, which we mentioned earlier in the presentation, and also your weekly schedule once you are registered for all of your classes in the near future. So I have included the weekly schedule tab right there, which you all can be able to access in the near future. In order to see your pre-reg course, you want to click on the academics tab, then click on term fall 2022, which is what you all are going to be registering for. Then at the bottom part, once y'all click on that, it is going to show you your pre-registered course, which again, it's going to be at either CTW, CNI, or an RTC. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so how to actually register for classes. I haven't tried to include a step-by-step down here, but for registering for classes, y'all want to click the My SEU Manage Classes tile, which again will have you select a term, which is going to be fall 2022. Then it will have you enter the class code or number that Maddie talked about earlier, which y'all saw in Course Avail. you want to be able to input that in, and then it will take you to see the list of courses. And then you want to make sure you're selecting whatever course it is that y'all want to enroll in. It will also let you know whether that course is open, if it's closed, or whether it has a wait list that you can enter in. If it's open, you can add it to your shopping cart and then finish enrolling. Quick side note though, you won't be able to actually enroll into any of these classes until your registration appointment happens and your registration opens. So don't try to register now. It's not going to work out anyways. So just a heads up for that. Once you're able to do all of that and click on the SU Manage tile, it will show you this next image to the right. This is there's a place where you're going to be able to enter your class number, where it's going to show you a key for what classes are enrolled, closed, and have a waiting status. And then it also has the features of adding, dropping, and swapping, which I have included some definitions right there. So if you're adding, you're essentially enrolling in a class. If you're dropping, you're trying to remove a class. And if you're swapping, you're trying to replace an existing class in your schedule with a new one. And pro tip, when you're trying to remove a class and replace it with another, always try to use the swap feature. This way you are eliminating the risk of losing your spot in the current class in case the new class does not have enough spots for you. So just a heads up for that. And we can move on to the next slide, which I believe is Kathryn.
All right, so this is a sample schedule of my fall quarter as like a business major. And this is exactly the same schedule that y'all will get after your registration appointment is completely finished. So this is the type of picture that I would recommend that y'all have on your phone, put it in your favorites. I always say for important stuff, always like favorite it or put it in an album so y'all aren't like scrolling through your phones. It's just a tip that I tell everyone. But yes, for example, what's really important about this is that it will tell you what your classes are, what time your class is, and where is your class. So the only thing it does not say is who your professor is. So pay attention on the first day, y'all, because it's not going to tell you who your professor is. So you're going to have to listen to that one. But yes, what I did want to point out is this yellow triangle thing that says warning. Don't worry about it. That is my advice. You don't have to do anything. It is just letting you know that, for example, in this Monday, I have a class, which is Phil 11A. And right after I have Econ 1, but I only have 10 minutes to get to that class. So that's just what it's saying, like a warning, you only have 10 minutes to make it to the other class. And I would say our campus is pretty small. So for the most part, you are able to get to each class within 10 minutes. If y'all really want to, you can check the campus map. But for the most part, y'all should be able to be fine with that. And if anything, communicate with your professors. I mean, they understand. And maybe you just say you'll be running 2 to 3 minutes late. And yeah, it should all be fine. Our professors are all really understanding. Okay, so now we're moving on to our Q&A. So we already saw some questions getting dropped into the chat, but yes, thank you, Melanie. Y'all could also raise your hands and ask us live because we would love interacting with y'all. So yes, Melanie, what was your question?
So my question is, I'm going to major in computer science, but I just looked at Course Avail and I saw that the intro to computer science is somewhat filled and there's only very limited space. And I don't have my academic advising session just yet until the 25th. What happens if those spots get filled? Will I not be able to enroll, or I don't know.
Hey, Melanie, so I'll take this one because I also just answer this to Michael in the chat. So Michael, if you want to pay attention as well, that's fine. But so for first year specifically, they've been releasing classes like week by week or as registration appointments begin. And especially if it's an intro class, you should be getting into that class, especially if it's like a course that you really need. And for the most part, professors normally add spots in the end or departments will. So I would most likely say you are guaranteed a spot, especially if it is an intro class for your first year. Does that answer your question, Mel? Yeah.
So spots are reserved for first years.
100%. Yes.
And
Okay.
also, if you're having trouble finding a class and if you have any questions for the given professor, I would recommend just emailing them from your SCU email, because I have tried time and time again to do that. And sometimes I've come out successful and they've given me like an access code. So you just have to make that connection with your professor or your potential professor. Don't be afraid to email them.
Okay.
Abigail, go ahead.
Hi, yeah. So I'm in the honors program, and like there's a lot of different classes that like there just isn't really like a clear outline of like specific classes that I have to take. It's like all just kind of confusing on like on the honors program website, and then on like the business school website. Like there's no like combined list of like all classes that I have to take. So like I was kind of just banking on my like advising session just to get all those questions like clear all those questions up. Should I like be more prepared for that and like know what classes I want to take, or will like my advisor help me with all of that? Because I'm just like so confused, like going back and back from every website, like just trying to figure out which classes I need to sign up for.
I can take the honors program question. So I'm a level 2 honors student, so I know some specifics about level 1. Basically, you will be registered for CTW and CNI classes that are specifically for honors students. So whatever class you might have already been pre-enrolled in will be potentially an honors class. Also, once you're entered into the honors program, there should be a specific Camino course that they pre-enroll you in, where you're able to access all of the honors resources. And also the directors usually put together a folder for you, in which it gives you the list of courses that you have to take. And when you have completed them, they just keep track of that. Otherwise, I will try to find specific resources for you where you can see the list of classes in the honors website, because they should be up there. Hopefully that
Thank you.
answers the question.
Yes, Enrique. And then after this, we will start getting to the ones that y'all have been answering and asking in the chat.
Yeah, so is there like a way to tell like how to find like courses that are only 2 units?
Oh, I can take that. That is definitely a question for Course Avail. There's I didn't go through all of them, but there are a multitude of different filters you can use. And there's even one option where you can put down how many units you want.
Yeah.
And you can also do it the manual way of just like clicking through each course. Because if you click on the course on Course Avail, it shows you like where the class is and who the professor is and how many seats there are. And then it also shows you how many units there are. Usually you're allowed to enroll in courses that are like your 2-unit labs or 1-unit labs. And then there's your 4-unit course. 5 units is when you go to upper division, which you'll get to once you have enough undergraduate units.
Okay, that sounds good. But like my question is like, is there like a list of like courses that are 2 units, like specifically? It's like if I can put it in a filter, but I want to see like all the courses that I can take as a freshman that are 2 units. Besides like
Unfortunately, I'm not sure if you can do just the 2-unit one, but I would definitely look into looking at every core and then clicking the 2-unit or the unit option.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
No worries. Oh, Harper?
Okay, yeah.
Hi, sorry, my camera doesn't work, but I was just wondering if I think someone already asked us in the chat, but if you're pre-enrolled in a class that either you don't think is gonna be super interesting to you, or that you might want to have like somewhat closer related to your major, do you just change that in your academic advising session, or are you required to then take that pre-enrolled class?
Hi, yes, I think I'll take this one. So for pre-enrolled courses, sadly, it's not something that you're able to change because it's something that like the system has already fixed for you. So what I would say, if it's like one of your CTWs, CNIs, like RTCs, I mean, you're just gonna have to probably stick with it, but maybe choose a different core requirement, such as a diversity that you would find interesting. But yeah, sadly, we're not allowed to like change the pre-enrolled classes.
I also have experience in this. During my first year, I was pre-enrolled into 2 courses, one of which I was unsure of for my CNI. But after I went through 2 quarters of it, I came out of it loving that course, and it was one that I never would have thought of taking before. I think it was called Cultures of Islam or culture something around that course, but it was taught by a wonderful professor. And I think you just need to go into these classes with just a grain of salt. You never know what you might find, whether you like it or not, but just try to make the best out of it.
All right, and then Melanie.
So for example, if we don't end up taking an intro course of our major during our first quarter, if we take it our second quarter, would that still be fine?
I would say it depends on what your major is and to really ask your academic advisors, because I know for like the business school, everyone has to take business 70 in their fall quarter. And I'm gonna like help answer some of the questions that I've been getting directly. If some of the business majors, if y'all don't see business 70 in your pre-reg courses on ECampus, and if you only see a CNI or CTW, I'm gonna send the link to the Drama Center right now, because that's something that y'all should have on your accounts. And don't worry if you don't right now, they'll fix it in your academic advising, but it's just important to maybe start letting them know that, hey, like I know I'm supposed to have this and I don't see it. So Melanie, for you, I'm not sure if I remember what major you're in, but just double check with your academic advisor and ask, can I take this in the winter quarter? Because for some of them, you're not allowed to. Dayana, if you want to get started in reading some of the ones on the doc.
Yes. So one of the questions that we have is, how many units should you have per quarter? If anybody wants to take that one, or I can go ahead and answer also. Okay. So to be considered a full-time student, you have to take 12 units, which is essentially 3 classes. Typically, however, SCU students do enroll in 16 units, which is 4 classes per quarter, but that's completely up to you. You're only required to take 12 units to be considered a full-time student. Okay, and then this is for all 3 OLs. Which do you prefer? Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes versus Tuesday, Thursday classes, morning versus noon versus evening classes, bunched together or spread apart? Who wants to tackle this one first?
Let's take this bit by bit, but I do want to make a disclaimer for all my pals on here. Tuesday, Thursday classes are usually longer classes. Your Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes are shorter, like around an hour or so, whereas your Tuesday, Thursday classes are around 2-ish hours. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dayana and Kathryn. Yeah.
Minutes. Yeah.
Yes, and also this is a point that I made earlier in my presentation. Please do not try to do all 4 classes on your Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It sounds tempting, but you will completely burn yourself out if you do that. So I like a good mix of both.
Okay, so for me personally, it really depends on the course. Like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I really love how short it is, but I would not put all my classes on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, just because I feel like I would be drained. And then on Tuesday, imagining doing all of that homework on from Monday, I just feel like that's way too much. And like everyone who I've talked to who's done the same thing pretty much agrees. For Tuesday, Thursday classes, the good thing about it is, at least in my experiences, all my professors have given me like a 5 to 10 minute break in between, which I believe is like a really good, like a refresher. So there's answering that. Like I personally prefer doing 3 classes Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then like 1 Tuesday, Thursday. And then I'm a morning person, so I know a lot of y'all probably hate me. So I'm good with doing morning classes, but I always do a break and around like 11 or 12 or around 2 and 3, because mentally that's when I know I'm really, really tired. And yeah, as for
Also,
the
lunch is important. Eat lunch. If anything, eat
oh,
lunch and dinner.
super important tip is that the cafeteria has some weird hours where most of the time you only have very selected options between the times of like 2 and 5 p.m. So if y'all want to keep that in mind, like if y'all end classes at 2, you might not have the most best options to eat right after. That's just a little tip.
However, the Benson Cellar, which is our little cellar market, is open all the time within the school day hours. So you can always pop down there for anything. It's below Benson cafeteria.
And they have some pretty good stuff, and your dining points work for those as well. So that's a good place to go. For me, similar to Kathryn, I've usually put 3 classes Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then 1 class for Thursday, which I usually save up for like 12. So I can get to sleep in those days, because I do prefer morning classes also as opposed to later classes. My brain just tends to be a lot more awake during that time, and I like to use the rest of the day to do homework. In terms of spreading them out or putting them together, my rule for myself is I can have at least 2 classes back to back, and then the third one needs to be a little bit more spaced out. But yeah, that's just me. My brain can go decay once the first class passes by. Okay, so
I'm gonna tackle. Oh, sorry. Just
Go
really
ahead.
quickly.
go
I'm
ahead.
gonna tackle the latter half of the question, which is the bunch together, spread apart, and morning, noon, evening. I've personally tried all 3, and I've found that only take the evening classes if it's a class that you really, really, really want to take, then it's worth it. But usually those evening classes run from like 5 to 7 p.m. Or I've taken a class that was 5 to 8 p.m. It's a little bit of a sacrifice, but if you like the class, I recommend doing it. And then bunch together versus spread apart. I like my classes bunched together because then I can have a school day and like starting and ending, and then I have free time to do homework, studying, or club activities. So it's totally up to you and how you want to gauge your schedule, when you want to study, how much time do you want to study or do homework, and if you want to allocate some time for clubs or extracurricular activities, that can also be after. So do what you want.
Awesome advice from Maddie. So we will now be going to the 6th question, with the 5th question, which is, if my academic advising session is late August, how soon should I start signing up for classes? I'm worried because my session is so far out and classes might start to fill up.
I'd like to take this one just because for some reason my registrations were always like towards the end and I would always freak out. So I would say, like I mentioned earlier, if you know you have like an intro class that you need to take, there will be slots because it is like an intro class for your specific major or for your specific school, such as like business or College of Arts. However, I would say, honestly, from my personal opinion, I wouldn't start planning until like the last week of July, because for me, it was really frustrating planning out like a part 1, part 2, backup plans and whatever. And then them getting filled, like to me, that was just really discouraging because I got really scared. So I would just say, yes, if you want to browse around, go ahead. But for the most part, on like the last week of July, that's when I'll really start looking. And don't freak out. I mean, like I said earlier, most departments will add classes if it's like a high demanded class, or if it's just like 1 or 2 students, like they will most likely accommodate with y'all. But it is important to have backups always.
Awesome. So the next question that we have is, okay, kind of similar to the question that you just answered, Kathryn. How prepared do I have to be before my first advising session? Do I need to show up knowing what I want to take, or will my advisor guide me? Also, how long is the advising session? Anybody want to tackle this one?
Okay, so
As for the time,
go ahead, Maddie. No, go ahead. I'll add on.
I know from personally if I can remember correctly, I was paired with another student, and it was fairly short. It's more of like a place where you can just ask questions, and then the advisor helps you um, go through like what classes that you should take. But it is fairly short. I would say around like 30-40 minutes per session. Go ahead, Kathryn.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, so we've heard from the Drummond Center, which is the advising session that at our campus, that it was most likely gonna be around a 2-to-1 ratio. So maybe you and someone from the same major, same school, along with one faculty advisor who's gonna help y'all pick out your classes. And the good thing is that they're not allowed to let you leave that appointment without a set schedule. So that's something to keep in mind, like you're no worries about that. And from what I also have heard is that honestly, it's mostly like, let's say, you maybe want to add a double major, but you're not 100% sure, at least mention that to them. You don't need to go in with a set schedule, but maybe like some classes you're thinking of taking, that's always really important to know. They're most likely going to guide you through a similar process of what we just did. But the more you know about what classes, the less scared or scary the process will be. So honestly, it's not too big of a deal. They're going to exactly tell you how to register. Like, you don't have to remember everything that Dayana said about ECampus. They will help you with that 100%.
For sure. Melanie, do you have a question? Go ahead.
Yes. I'm just curious if you guys happen to know if I'm going to be majoring in computer science in the College of Arts and Sciences. I'm just curious to know if you guys happen to know if we need to take the intro class the first quarter, or is it okay if we take it the second quarter?
Do you have any of you all know? No?
No, like I said, I feel like that one's more like for your academic advisor, because they'll know exactly what it is. But there, so see, someone just helped you out in the chat right there. Someone was just told that you could take it anytime. So I would just confirm that with your advisor, if anything.
Yes. Okay. How do we know how to divide our first 3 out of 4 classes between major requirements and core requirements? Good question.
That's usually something that you could divide on your own time. It's also, you're gonna find that throughout your years at Santa Clara, there's some quarters that you take a lot of your core classes, and there's some quarters where you take a lot of your major specific classes. It's totally up to you. Like, for example, last quarter, I took a lot of my core classes, but that was because a lot of the upper divisions filled up very quickly for biology. And that's okay, because I'm still on a track that's different from everyone else's.
Yes, I did want to add on to this. A rule that I've kind of kept is like 2 of the core and like 2 or 2 relate to my major. So I showed my sample schedule from the first year, and like since I'm in the business school, I took like business 70 and econ, which are like both they're all like introductions, and like I need to take them anyways, but like they're business related. And I was pre-enrolled in a CNI, and I think I did my diversity as well. So it's always like a good balance that way. Like if all of your classes are like writing, I mean, some of y'all may really love that, but it's always nice to like have a balance between your major and like the university core.
Awesome. So we have another one. I signed up for all afternoon classes, so I assume I will be doing most of my studying late at night. Where on campus is it open later into the night? We can plug in the library hours down there, but the library tends to stay open usually until sometimes 10-11 p.m. at night. There are times when I believe in final super often like extends to like 2 a.m. I want to say. So the library is always a good resource to study on campus. That being said, you also have common rooms in your residential living communities, which you can always access as well. So those are some good spots to study if you still want some light. Jaden put it in the chat. Library is usually open till 2 a.m. But I will also hook up the hours
Ooh,
so you guys can keep track.
another fun fact, Skitty is open pretty late as well. So that's
It's the big glass see-through building. It's new. You'll be able to find it. Yes. And also Benson, the cafeteria is open, I'm pretty sure, until midnight. A lot of people aren't there, but I know near finals, they have like late night. So if you're ever hungry, like you can literally pick up food while you're studying. Yes, Jaden.
Real quick for Skitty, it oftentimes, I think it's like after 8, it closes, but pro tip, the when you go to the front door, the door on the right, it's kind of broken. So if you pull it hard enough, you can always get in anytime. I studied in Skitty till like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. Like if you pull on the right door at the front entrance hard enough, it will always open.
or you knock relentlessly on those windows for somebody who's walking by or sitting down in the front. Usually when it hits the hours of 2, 3, 4 a.m., nobody's in the front because there's usually someone who's banging on those doors asking to get in.
Also,
That's good on both ends, so it's okay.
just to let y'all know, besides like Skitty, the library, and I believe it is Benson, the dining hall, most of the other buildings close at 10 p.m. In my experience, that's what I've been told. So yes, we'll get on to the next question.
Also, Skitty we're referring to is the acronym for Serato Campus for Discovery and Innovation. That's the real word. Everyone on campus calls it Skitty for some reason. Yes, just letting you all know.
Awesome. Okay, somebody stated, how much work is it when you have 20 units? Also, does lead 1 have a lot of coursework? Has anybody taken 20 units or is part of?
Okay, so I can speak to this. I'm a rising junior, so I have 2 years under my belt. I would recommend overloading once you have enough experience with how rigorous your classes are, or once you adjust to the quarter schedule. Only then do I recommend you adding more classes or more things to your schedule. But a schedule that does have 20 units or 21 units is feasible. You just need to be very good with time management. You need to keep your mental health in check because it is a big course load. And you also need to make sure that you are having that good balance of sleep, extracurriculars, and studying. Because I have had friends who are very diligent students, but their burnout was very, very real if they take an exceeding amount of units. So just be mindful of your mental health and do what's best for you. Everyone will get to where they need to be in their own pace. Just don't stress yourself out too quickly.
Awesome. So one of our last questions in the doc. I'm trying to get college transfer credit for a first term introductory course in my major. If the department hasn't analyzed the course yet to determine credit, how will this be handled during registration meeting? It's kind of like AP credit without having the score. How easy is it to swap courses after the session when an entire schedule could change because of time conflicts?
Okay, I think I kind of understand this question. It looks like for this specific course, you might be like enrolled in another course in the meantime while your credits transfer. That's the way like I'm understanding it. So what I would say is, again, to use your backups as your options. If you for sure need that course, what I would suggest is at least to like make sure there's another course with the same time. But like I'm pretty sure like personally, like if you know you passed the course like with a good grade, then just find another class that you like and keep that like in the back of your head. If you're really unsure about your score, then I guess it doesn't really matter because you'll have an introductory course at the exact time that you would have it otherwise. Do any of y'all want to add into that? I know that sounded a bit confusing.
I would say communicate it to your advisor during your advising session. Give them as much information as you can so they can actually help you get to where you need to get. Sometimes transfer credits do take some time to come in. So just make sure that you're keeping them in the loop. Otherwise, you might enroll in a class that you don't actually need, or so on and so forth. So I would just say keep it a good communication with your advisor, and they'll probably figure out a plan for y'all.
Oh, so I just read the second part of that question. Swapping is really easy as long as you know there's a class available. And then if anything, you could join a wait list for a class. I know we haven't really talked about that, but that's also an option.
It's also not as uncommon as you would think. Schedules change around all the time. So don't be stressed if there's a schedule in the beginning that ends up not working out. Okay, within our doc list, that is all the questions that we've gotten.
Someone
The one in the chat.
Yeah, Harper just asked the question.
It's easy to change your schedule if it isn't working out for you. I would say following, it depends also, it depends on what exactly you're trying to change, whether it's a class, various classes, or the schedule in its entirety. ECampus would obviously be the place to do that. I would say if you're trying to make major changes, I would say always keep in touch with your advisors and keep them in the loop of what type of plan you're trying to follow. But it is case to case basis, and it really depends on what you're trying to do. In my experience, I think I've swapped classes quite a couple of times and it has not been that difficult. But then again, every experience is different. And I would say, like, to get the most help out of it, communicate it with your advisors. They're there to help you out, to help you all out.
I think the next question is for LSB, do we only have to take 2 language classes? And yes, that is correct. If y'all didn't receive AP credit for a language course, you only have to take 2, a level 2 of a language for the business. I know for the College of Arts and Sciences, it might be different, but for business majors, that's correct.
And then we have another, will the advising session have both a Drummond advisor and a faculty advisor and 2 students in parallel?
First of all, I'm so surprised that you know all of those information. Okay, I will take this one because the thing about this advising appointment that you have in July is that it's going to be with either a Drummond or a faculty advisor. It's just whatever they have available. However, that's not going to be your advisor for the whole first year. So you're going to get assigned one depending on your major, depending on your school. You might even get peer advisors, and those will be emailed to you separate throughout the school year. Dayana and Maddie, do you want to add on?
I think you captured everything perfectly.
I also have a question I got myself. Someone is wondering when they will get their residential hall assignments, because they said that the website says July, but they were just wondering when exactly they will get their residential hall assignments.
Jaden, can you please remind us? Yes, thank you.
Yes, if you don't know, it should be August 15th, around mid-August. You should get both your roommate assignment and RLC or residential learning community assignment.
Thank you. Okay, I got a question, which is, how is the workload at Santa Clara? Would you say it is manageable? In my experience, I would say that it really is all about time management and planning everything out. There are some classes that are naturally going to be more difficult than others. So it really is about balancing them out with classes that by nature are a little bit easier. I believe, Kathryn, you made the comment that core requirements are generally a little bit more simpler than perhaps your major requirements. So you could always like try to balance them out with that. But yeah, I think it's really about managing your time and setting some boundaries about study times. Office hours are really helpful. Talking to your professors, building relationships. If you do so, they will be all Santa Clara faculty is amazing. So they will be understanding of whatever situation you're going through. So make sure you're communicating with them. We also have great tutoring resources that can help you out with that. But in my experience, I would say it is manageable, but it really is all about time management and planning your stuff out. And Maddie and Kathryn, I don't know if you guys want to add anything.
You captured it perfectly. Nice. And with that, I'm going to cut the. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I think we
do one more.
One more. It's
No worries, go ahead.
one separately, so I think we should just answer it. It's to what extent would you count on the wait list for classes?
I think for that one, that's definitely a professor question. As I said before, hound your professors with questions. That's what they're there for. They're there to help you. So use their resource, which is their little inbox. Because although a waitlist is like maybe a 50-50 chance, I personally have never used it before. But again, just emailing them personally, or maybe the department head will get you somewhere.
Yeah, it is really a case-to-case basis, y'all. So just keep that in mind.
Okay, we're gonna get going with our tips and tricks, but if y'all have any questions, we're gonna share our socials at the end of this. Y'all can ask again and we will continue to direct you. If y'all want clarification, if we were too general, just feel free to message us. This is like our first time doing this event, so we wanted to try to get through all of them. But yes, if you want any details, you could still message us on our socials. And now Maddie will tell y'all about tips and tricks.
You can also email SU orientation at SU.edu. Yes. All right. This is accumulation of tips and tricks that all of us have accumulated over the course of our time here at Santa Clara University. The first one is pick professors, not times. That is very integral to how your time here at Santa Clara is going to be, because it's better to have a better teacher, as we have seen with Course Avails, rather than having the perfect schedule for your time, because sometimes you might need to take that 8 a.m. to get that really good professor, and that's okay. And if possible, save your easiest classes, or quote unquote easiest classes, for spring quarter, because spring quarter is usually the time where students experience a little bit of burnout, a little bit of fatigue. So it's better to have the classes that you think for yourself will take the least brain power to use towards the end. And as I said before, try not to take more than 3 classes per day. Ease yourself in. Once you get the hang of the quarter system and how college is for you personally, then you can add in more things to your schedule. And for my STEM pals, be mindful of when your lab times are, because as I said before, eating is very important. Lunch and dinner, at least, is super duper important. I do not want y'all to go from core classes to major classes straight into your maybe 3 to 4 hour labs, because coming out of those very lightheaded, not the move, y'all. As I said before, have a good mix between your major and core requirements. This will give you a better workload, because then it's not all, like, for example, it's not all STEM or it's not all core. It's just a little perfect mix. And everyone has their own path. All 3 of us have stressed this throughout our presentations, because we're 3 different people. We have 3 different majors, 3 different courses. And even if you have the same major as someone else, their course schedule or their journey throughout Santa Clara is super different than yours. So focus on yourself. Create different schedules on Course Avail just in case. As I said in my earlier presentation, it's better to have more options than to have none at all. Most likely the professor will tell you if the textbook is necessary on their syllabus. And if when in doubt, just email them. Push the email, guys. Do it. And if in doubt, check with your advisors because they know all at the Drama Center. And with that, I'll hand it off.
So this is the where to find us page. Y'all can contact us as the orientation team as a whole, but we've also included our personal Instagrams if y'all want to hit us up individually, and we can answer more questions either through Instagram, or we also have the platform of Bronco Exchange, where y'all can also check out some future really fun events and meet more of our team. We do have 2 Instagrams. We have the main page, which is the SCU orientation page, but we also have the SEOL Low Bar Diaries, where we share most of our casual moments and lots of information. We do consistent Q&As, so you could always redirect your questions down there. Also, we also have a TikTok page, posting TikToks consistently. They're fun. Go show some love. They are top notch. We also have our YouTube page, in which this presentation will hopefully be up eventually. So y'all can always come back to this presentation and get some refreshed information if y'all need to. We also have posted an introductory video, which is amazing, and you guys can see all of the rest of our orientation team. We also have a Discord, which we are going to put in the chat, where y'all can interact with the SCU orientation team or more fellow incoming students. So hit us up, keep in touch. We're here for y'all.
Also, we linked the presentation slide in the chat, so everyone has access to them. And yeah, thank you guys.
We are doing a part 2 of this event. I believe that it is the 13th. Correct me if I'm wrong. No, yeah, it is the 13th. It's going to be in the morning for anyone who couldn't have made it. If y'all have any more questions, again, you could reach out to us individually or come to that event and register. The slides will be the same, but at the end, you're probably going to hear more questions that different students have to ask. So yes, thank you all for joining. Oh yeah. I will make sure y'all have access to the presentation. I will manually accept it all, just because we need to make sure that this does stay in with like SCU and the people who have joined this event. But yes, click on the link right now. I will resend it in the chat, just in case y'all didn't get this. And yeah, feel free to reach out to our Instagrams, anything.